Previously on Bearded Bible Brothers.
This is magnificent, gentlemen. Look at all this space here. Here is the entrance to the temple complex, the former entrance, southern steps.
I cannot believe that Caleb tricked me again into going into a death tunnel.
It's the one that has the passage that's like 5 foot tall and like 2 feet wide, of which I am neither.
So the work that Solomon, the Bible tells us Solomon did,
Yeah.
it would have taken Herod almost 2 centuries to do the same amount of work. Yes, he started talking about Herod, but he's now talking about what Herod was building on, and that was by King Solomon. Then I think that totally changes the testimony, and you see that Josephus is actually affirming Solomon as the builder of the Temple Mount rather than Herod.
That's right. And I see Hershey, Rabbi Hershey. Off in the distance, he's surrounded by 50 IDF soldiers. And I see that Hershey starts praying with everybody. He's shaking everybody's hand. He's surrounded by these soldiers. And that's why we do our best to listen to the Holy Spirit and not miss a single opportunity when we're in Israel.
Buddy, we are back in Israel and back in action. Last week, Dr. Krishna Wider took us around the Temple Mount, dropping truth bombs. Truth bomb, brother.
Sorry.
Poor taste, poor taste. Dropping truth bombs of archaeological proof to demonstrate his thesis that the current Temple Mount complex was actually constructed by King Solomon. This earth-shattering theory flies in the face of decades of assumptions that it was the infamous Herod the Great and his superior work that expanded the complex that is visible today. We saw a lot of compelling evidence that backs up Christian's claim. I'm excited to see what he has in store for us next. Let's head to the David Citadel now.
1 Chronicles 22:5, David said, "My son Solomon is young and inexperienced, and the house to be built for the Lord should be of great magnificence and fame and splendor in the sight of all the nations. Therefore I will make preparations for it." So David made extensive preparations before his death.
I find it interesting, Christian, that some say Solomon was 15 years old when he became king. Some say he was 20, but literally he was pretty young, inexperienced. Scripture just said he was not very experienced. Yet 4 years into his reign, he started this building project, the most important building project, I believe, in history. Now, when you look at the specs, the dimensions, the details of building Solomon's temple, you kind of see a comparison with Phoenician temples and architecture. And that's not, a confusing fact, because King David was friends with Hiram of Phoenicia, of Tyre. And so one would even wonder if David had a hand in building the platform of a temple as well, or if it is all the genius of the chief architect Hiram. But we know that influence carried over to Solomon. So I'm just trying to wonder, did he get his wisdom from God to build all those temple projects? Was it Hiram? But we do see similarities, don't we?
Oh yeah. Yeah, and Scripture does say that not only did David make tremendous preparations for the temple and helping Solomon to get, amass wealth, but he had this key relationship with Hiram, right, that just transitioned immediately into Solomon's reign, because he went and asked for, stonemasons from Hiram. And so it actually solves one of the mysteries about Baalbek in Lebanon. Because in Baalbek, they have these megalithic stones that are, equal to and even a little bit larger in some cases than the Great Western Stone that's in the Temple Mount underneath the walls. That one that's 40 feet long and 10 feet tall and 6 to 10 feet deep, like that kind of stone, 500-ton stones.
Baalbek, Lebanon has been a top dream destination of mine for years. It's home to the largest Roman temple ever constructed, to Jupiter no less. But this city, which some historians claim date back 11,000 years, is shrouded in mystery due to massive megalith stones that make up the complex. The Romans built their temples atop an existing platform built by an unknown civilization that shouldn't have had the technology to construct such fine work. We're talking about monolith stones such as the Trilithon. This row of 3 megalithic cut limestones were over 62 feet long each, 14 feet high and 12 feet wide. Each weighs approximately 880 tons. According to written Ugaritic history, Baalbek was a high holy site founded by the infamous Nimrod himself. After building Babel, Erech, Akkad, Nineveh, the ancient history claims Nimrod traveled to present-day Lebanon, where he used his army of giants to build the city of Baalbek, and of course these holy shrines. All I know is that evil is always attracted to evil high places. Baalbek is considered to be part of Hezbollah's heartland, and was known to be their political stronghold, which unfortunately is why I cannot visit the terrorist hotspot today. Yet.
So when he's, building with things like that, like you see up at Baalbek, well, that if people think that Herod built the Temple Mount, then they start going, oh, well, maybe Herod helped build Baalbek too.
No, it's too old. Come on, guys.
But it's not. Yeah, it's the Bible is telling us, right, that story, and that's what's giving us this account that Hiram is the one who brought that technology to here. But you can be sure that with the wisdom that God gave Solomon, he didn't stop where he started, right, and continued to innovate. And so I think a lot of the things that we see here still reach a grandeur that you don't necessarily see anywhere else in the world. And I would call the Temple Mount still one of the the eighth wonder of the world.
Now we're at the Citadel of David, Jaffa Gates behind us. There's a very important find here that's linked to your story. Let's go take a look at it.
All right, let's go.
2 Chronicles 8, 1-2 and verse 6. It took Solomon 20 years to build the Lord's temple and his own royal palace. At the end of that time, Solomon turned his attention to rebuilding the towns that King Hiram had given him, and he settled Israelites in them. He built everything he desired in Jerusalem and Lebanon and throughout his entire realm.
So we're at the Citadel of David. They say this fortress is Crusader period, Mamluk period, destroyed, rebuilt over and over again. You have a different story to tell. Why are these stones here?
Yeah, so we're here at what is some people would call the Herodian period, but is really the Solomonic period. But you see the same bordered stones here, these giant megalithic ashlars. This is the oldest part of the Citadel. It's been destroyed and rebuilt multiple times.
Yeah.
But we see that this is, the remnants of a moat. The stones are in their original location. And this is another one of the projects for Solomon's 150,000 men and the building projects that he made around Jerusalem. And there's another place just like this over at the Damascus Gate. And so that really, I think, helps us set the extent of the city in the days of Solomon in the 10th century, that it's much greater than what people thought. Because we're tying it back to, Solomon, not Herod. The Damascus Gate they actually tie to Hadrian, because after the city was conquered, in the days of Hadrian coming back in Aelia Capitolina, the 10th Legion put up a stone and carved it to say this is dedicated. But because there's a dedication of the great stonework of Solomon doesn't mean that it was built by Hadrian, by the 10th Legion for Hadrian.
That's right.
So, when we see this is what tells us really where the city was extended to. So then another evidence that we're not talking about Herod here is if we go to Masada, right, we could see some real Herodian stonework.
Well, I would like to see what Herod actually built at Masada, so let's just jump there right now.
All right, let's take a trip.
Okay, if you are not a nerd, stick around. It's history time. I promise it's super cool. Look at me, clearly not a nerd, and I love this stuff. Herod the Great was known for his many building projects around Judea, as well as Solomon. Now, we do have evidence of those specific projects that we can visit today. He built a hilltop palace fortress of Herodian that would become his mausoleum. He built the port city of Caesarea Maritima to be the headquarters of Rome's dominion over Judea. Here, as well as Horvat Omri and Tel Sebastia, he built temples to honor Caesar Augustus. But Masada, it's a special kind of indulgence. This fortress of Masada is built at the Dead Sea on a mesa 1,300 feet above the desert floor. It showcases 2 spacious palaces, luxurious bathhouses, well-stocked storerooms, 12 enormous cisterns, mikvahs, and a synagogue. This was his home away from home. King Herod could withstand an enemy army siege for months with all of these resources. In fact, Masada was the site of the infamous last stand of the Jewish zealots against the Roman Empire in 72 AD, where the hardcore rebels decided to commit mass suicide instead of surrendering to their army. Like I said, there's a lot of history here, and like a lot of dirt. It was wicked hot. A lot of climbing.
All right. This palace is pretty nice. I mean, King Herod lived here. It's a Western palace. Magnificent stonework. I mean, look at these. This looks just like the Temple Mount, right? I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, what do you think,
It
Christian?
does. And actually, so we're in Herod's royal residence in the Western Palace. And this is true Herodian stonework. And you can see it right behind us on the walls. It's actually just, you know, assembled stonework that's actually fast and cheap by comparison to the Temple Mount walls. It's covered in plaster, but it was carved to look exactly like the Temple Mount walls. And that's the thing that tells you that he's trying to look like the Temple Mount. He didn't build the Temple Mount. If he could have built that kind of work, surely you would have seen some of it here. And instead we see copycat work.
So he's a poser.
That's what I see. I see here true Herodian stonework is not what everybody says it is. They're calling Solomon's work Herodian.
Because if you don't do it in your own house, you don't really care that much. That's what you can't do.
I mean, it's your palace, right?
You want the best in your palace, just like we saw the best throughout Masada, the best bathhouse, the best terrace, northern palace. So yeah, Herod in all his glory.
There it is.
It's time to call a spade a spade. Herod the Great had some great ideas, but his execution was rushed and flawed. He wanted monuments built to his glory to stand for all time, but they now are in ruin.
The Bearded Bible Brothers is an outreach of Zola Levitt Ministries. Visit levitt.com to subscribe to our monthly newsletter, The Levitt Letter, or call 1-800-WONDERS. Check out our resources we have available on our online store, or learn more about our tours to Israel, Greece, and Petra. You can also visit beardedbiblebros.com to subscribe to weekly digital updates through email and watch our online videos and content. Your donations and love gifts help us continue our mission to bring the gospel to the Jew first. We thank you for your faithful support. Nothing can stop the prophetic coming of the Third Temple, but you can learn more about the intricacies surrounding its biblical fate with our resources in the Third Temple package. Included are Zola Levitt's past teachings from his book, Satan in the Sanctuary, the audio CD companion, Tribulation Temple, and the DVD series, The Temple. Use these tools as your guide to witness to the Jewish people before it's too late. For your donation of $60 or more, you can receive all three resources, or purchase them each individually. Call now or visit levitt.com for the Third Temple package.
Genesis 23, 19 through 20. Afterward, Abraham buried his wife Sarah in the cave in the field of Machpelah near Mamre, which is at Hebron in the land of Canaan. So the field and the cave in it were deeded to Abraham by the Hittites as a burial site.
Now, I'm not going to lie, when Christian asked us to go to Hebron again, I had to think twice. Aside from being an ancient stronghold of the Nephilim giants, and people always kind of think that I'm a part of their team, when I'm not, modern Hebron is quite a tumultuous place because, well, pockets of Jewish communities are surrounded by hostile Islamic occupiers. This is the West Bank, the wild, wild, wild West. There's all three wilds here, I promise you. I hope things don't get too wild this time around. That makes four wilds. That's redundant. I need other words in my vocabulary.
That's cool. I've seen that place before.
I have. It looks different in the daylight, though.
You know, we're right here outside of the Tomb of the Patriarchs, also built on top of the Cave of Machpelah, right? That Abraham actually purchased from the Hittites.
Yeah.
Yeah, he bought that land and here it is. They built this right upon that memorial there.
It's funny that you can buy a piece of land like that in a place like Israel, and here we are thousands of years later. And because of who's buried in that cave that you're talking about, it's such a holy place for the Jews here. You have the bones of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, you have Sarah, Rebecca, Leah, and even people believe that Adam and Eve's bones are there too. That's a sacred place for everybody to be in that one tomb.
Yeah. It is interesting, but it looks quite different from what they saw back then, which was a cave. What we're seeing right now, this giant structure, many attribute it, you see these giant stones, to Herod, that he built this Herodian monument on top. And then by the time the Crusader Knights come here, they build this extra layer on top. You see the stonework is different, and it's a church. Then here comes the Muslim invaders, and they convert it into a mosque. And then now it's kind of split in between today, between a mosque and a synagogue, but still a very holy site. Now, Kristen, I know you have a different theory about who constructed these stones here. What is it? I mean, what are we looking at?
No, that's right, Caleb. It's another case of urban legends about the accounts of Josephus, to say that Herod built this place. But historians actually openly admit that he didn't, that he's not even mentioned in the accounts, right? It's just completely assumed from the similarity of the construction with the Temple Mount. And, here's just a quote from Dwayne W. Roller, The Building Program of Herod the Great. So if anybody should know something about it, right? And what does he write? The ancient city of Hebron, renowned as the home and burial place of Abraham, is somewhat of a puzzle for the student of Herod's building program. It was described by Josephus with particular emphasis on its fine marble tombs, but there is no mention of Herod. And so, how come we're so confident that Herod built it? Only because it looks like the Temple Mount. And so...
You're trying to say that Herod's humility wouldn't have kept his own name out of it if he'd been the one that built it?
Absolutely.
I say we prove it. I want to go see a closer look.
1 Kings 9, 17 through 19. So Solomon rebuilt Gezer and the lower Beth Horon and Baalith and Tamar in the wilderness in the land of Judah, and all the storage cities which Solomon had, even the cities for his chariots and the cities for his horsemen, and all that it pleased Solomon to build in Jerusalem and Lebanon and in all the land under his rule.
All right, so guys, what I think we're looking at here is the most untouched and pristine structure that Solomon built that remains to this day. It was never besieged, and attacked like the walls of Jerusalem were. And so when we look up at this, you're seeing, I think, all the way back to the time of Solomon. You're seeing work that was done to, memorialize and commemorate this place, because outside of the temple, like the birthplace of the patriarchs, that, where they're buried is one of the most important things that could have been memorialized. And when we hear about Solomon, he continued to work and build for over 20 years after he finished the temple. So, as he's doing that, he's still got 150,000 men. That's another 3 million man years of labor. And so that's why we should expect to find some amazing things outside also of Jerusalem. And I think by connecting this to Solomon, you also say 100% this is the site of the temple.
Very cool. Yes, very nice.
Close it now, close. שלום.
Shalom.
Shalom.
צאו החוצה בבקשה. תודה רבה. צאו החוצה בבקשה, תודה רבה. שבת שלום.
I'm not going to say that I told you so, but I told you so. This place is so sacred, so volatile, that we were stopped by the police force that was supposed to be protecting the Jews at this site. Of course, it didn't help that they were Arab police officers and that they were 2 feet shorter than me and had little man complex and very well read up on Freud. No matter how you feel, it's not kind of anybody to shove an assault rifle in anyone's face just for filming a Bible story, or to touch their camera, or to have atrocious breath.
Genesis 13:18. Then Abraham moved his tent and went and dwelt by the terebinth trees of Mamre, which are in Hebron, and built an altar there to the Lord.
Guys, we made it to our final destination here at Ramat al-Khalil. This is the biblical site of Mamre. So much stuff happened here. This is where Abraham sojourned. He was a stranger in a foreign land. He set up camp here. He built an altar to God. He made a covenant with God here. He even met with 2 angels in a theophany of Yeshua here. A lot happened.
That is a lot of stuff for one place. This place has been verified by so many people, by so many ancient archaeological things that have been found here. Josephus says, boom, this here is special. Obviously, we know that's because this is where God and Abraham made that covenant, where God walked through those bloody boned animals, those massive potholes over there. Yeah. That's what those giant oaks came out of. It's just a crazy site that obviously has been coveted by the world for a long time.
And on cue, we have to stop filming again. This time, Muslim prayer calls interrupt our pristine audio.
We're still in Hebron, a different part. We're at the location where Abraham was told by the theophany that Sodom was going to be destroyed. This place, the ruins, it's really cool. They talk about the tall oaks there. You can see those holes right there showing the circumference of what that tree was like. The well over here, the water source they believe Abraham dug originally for this area. So much history. If you don't believe, I'm saying it again in case I got cut off, if you don't believe spiritual warfare is real, we got kicked out of our first site. We went around to the other side, the Arabic side. Complete silence. We got out here to film and the prayer calls begin. But as they saw us filming, they cranked up the volume on the prayer calls so loud that we can barely hear ourselves and then projected it through multiple speakers. It's crazy. Spiritual warfare is real. They don't like what we're doing.
All right, satanic prayer time is over. Not today, Satan, not today. Now back to your regularly scheduled Bearded Bible Brothers teachings.
Yeah, and even like right over here is where Abraham's altar was built. I mean, we're standing on the ground that is really holy, really amazing. Later on, we know good old Constantine came in and tried to shift some things around and take all the Jewishness of Yeshua out of the sequence. And so he built a basilica right over here to kind of shift the whole gears. But the important thing is what happened with this altar and in this area. And I know, Christian, you got a lot of information on that.
Yeah, well, and this was also the place where, you know, God made that promise to Sarah that she would bear a son, you know, when she's long past the years of childbirth. And so this is also the birth of the nation of Israel. And, you know, to be here at this place and to sort of, you know, the importance of the archaeology that's here to commemorate this is just, you know, it's amazing. And when we look at that, we go, okay, this happened here, but what else happened here? I mean, this has been commemorated since even the time of David, even earlier. And then especially these great walls with these giant ashlar stones, I think tell us that somebody else was here too, and it was Solomon. A lot of people have said it's Herod because, you know, Herod must have done this kind of same work because there's stones over here that we'll look at in a minute that match the stones that we just saw at Machpelah, right? But it's Solomon, I think, that we're looking for, not Herod. There's no mention of Herod by Josephus. There's no reason for him to have been here except for the similarity of the stone, but if we see that as Solomon, then this changes, you know, our understanding of the site, and we know for sure this is also where Abraham was at.
Well, I want to see those stones you're talking about.
All right, let's go take a look.
Sweet.
Psalm 102, 13 through 14. You will rise up and have compassion on Zion, for it is time to show favor to her. The appointed time has come, for your servants take delight in its stones and favor in its dust.
All right, so guys, come up here and take a look at this. We again see some very large ashlar stones. They have the border that we see like at the Temple Mount and Machpelah, which is what, you know, points to a Herodian stone. But since we're talking about Herodian stones being really Solomonic stones, and really this whole series of giant ashlars that goes around here that encompasses this whole spot, that's what points us back to Solomon's time instead of looking at Herod.
That's a huge perimeter I see around here. It's like a fortress almost.
It's amazing.
It's like, what were they protecting in here? Had to be important, I think.
This is the birthplace of Israel right here.
I get it. Let's go see some more.
All right.
Very fortified nursery for a baby country waiting to be God's chosen.
Mamre was a holy site even to the Jews back during the time of biblical Joshua and Caleb. The first evidence of a shrine or holy site being built here after Abraham was during the beginning of the tribe of Judah's residency after the conquest of Canaan. Then, according to Christians' research around the Iron Age during the reign of Solomon, we see these massive walls of ashlar stones were built to encompass the site where Abraham's altar and his well were located. The stone wall was 6.5 feet thick, 160 feet by 213 feet. Not surprisingly, this became a cultic site to honor the dead ancestors of the Jewish people. Was that a good idea? I'll leave it to you.
That was an amazing adventure to go and see all these things, Christian, that Solomon built, seeing all his construction sites. Thank you so much for taking us around Israel to see these amazing things.
Thank you for letting me come with you guys. I mean, this has been awesome.
It is amazing. And I think we can draw a very important moral from this whole situation, because we see around us these structures. You have an altar, you have a church. Man is always trying to build an edifice, a temple, some place to connect them to God. And yeah, God originally had that. A temple was a way to meet with him, to commune with him. Now we have Yeshua, where we can commune with him directly. But ever since that moment happened, man just started building bigger temples, bigger churches. And it's like they're worshiping that structure instead of worshiping God. They all try to outdo one another and make the biggest thing. And Satan likes that. If he can get your focus off of God, onto man, onto the structure, onto the gold, onto the opulence, it'll eventually go toward him. And he's waiting for that moment, the final moment. That's why he sinned. That's why he was cast out of heaven, because he wanted worship for himself. And you find out during the tribulation, he finally gets it. His heart's desire when man finally bows down to worship him incarnate.
For like a few seconds.
Yeah, yeah, just a few seconds, but yeah, for him.
Stay tuned next week. Dr. Christian Widener, this gentleman right here who's been dropping knowledge that's exploding my brain this entire trip, is going to literally blow up your paradigm of understanding of the end times, of the tribulation, the second coming, the rapture. All this stuff is going to turn it on its ear, but you can't find out unless you watch next week's episode. Better check back in.
Next week on the Bearded Bible Brothers.
We are back in Jerusalem, city of Yeshua. This is where he set up his first temple. This is where he put his second temple, which unfortunately was destroyed in 70 AD.
But then you've got these 7 years that still show up. And most teachers will say that that's the rapture coming and then the 7 years of tribulation to follow.
Then this 2027 that's coming up will be then another year of Jubilee, and is a time that we should be watching for the return of the Lord.
This is fantastic. I'm so excited, and I'm so proud that I finally booked a trip to Israel to walk where Jesus walked.
It's about time. I told you, brother, it's about time. Oh, wow. Look at that. The figs taste like figs. The olives taste like olives. Oh, it's incredible.
Oh, man.
Mike, I told you to double zip tie. Hey everybody, I'm Joshua.
And I'm Caleb.
And we're the Bearded Bible Brothers. Clearly we're not in Israel now, but that's okay because we do film in Israel all the time. And guess what? We want to bring you along as well.
That's right. I remember my first visit to Israel. The terrain looks completely different than it does on camera. The depth, the height, the smells, Josh, even the spiritual climate. When you go to Jerusalem, you can visit the ruins of the places where Yeshua and the apostles taught and learned about the kingdom of heaven. You can sail the same Sea of Galilee where Yeshua calmed the waves. You can even visit the Valley of Armageddon at Megiddo to see where the final battle of the ages is going to be fought.
So turn off that Zoom background, click on the link below, and book your trip today. Not just to Israel. You can also add Petra in Jordan or go to Greece, where Paul went all around, and we go to those places as well. Schedule your tour today.
Did you know the Bearded Bible Brothers is an outreach of Zola Levitt Ministries? That means we are entirely donor-funded. Consider giving at levitt.com. You can also join the Bearded Bible Bonanza to access additional content at patreon.com/Bearded Bible Bonanza. Please support our mission to spread the gospel of Yeshua by subscribing to our social media and sharing our online messages. Join the Bearded Brothers in person on a study tour of Israel, Greece, and Petra and see the Bible come alive. And as always, pray for the peace of Jerusalem.